things that he started talking about is the ways in which Chobani as a brand has been looking at the D2C brands that have coming up and the ways in which they're internalizing some of the lessons. So let me start by welcoming Eddie, finally, for coming to our stage, and tell us, I have to admit, I'm not a consumer of Chobani because I'm vegan, but I will say it is, your Greek yogurt is one of my wife's cheats. So it's one of the only animal-based products we have in our house. So, it's that good. But tell us a little bit about who you are, what your work is with Chobani, and then we'll get into the media plan.
Sure. So my name is Eddie Revis. I'm the Senior Director for Marketing, Strategy, and Media at Chobani. It's a really long title to say that I managed all of our consumer marketing and media investments. Chobani is a really interesting structure, and a couple of years ago we reorged, and it allowed marketing to get very close to sales and into this idea of one demand creation, which is unique for CPGs. I spent a lot of time on the road at Walmart, at Target, at Kroger, and my remit extends across both national ad campaigns, so the big creative, big investments that you see from us a few times a year, all the way down to the most granular owned communications that we're leveraging across our new data stack and our data strategy. And so it's top to bottom. Anyway, if you're a consumer of Chobani, or if you're not a consumer of Chobani yet, we know it, and we're after you. And my remit is just to make sure all of that works hard and does what it does for the business.
Okay, we're going to drill into this concept of the One Chobani idea. But before that, let's level set. Generally, what does Chobani's marketing mix look like in terms of online and offline channels? How are you using them to promote your product now?
Yeah, so my background's from agency and tech. So I'd never worked in CPG before, and I refused to accept the idea that I had to act like a CPG marketer. Because for CPG marketers in the room, no offense, but there's other ways to do it. And one of the ways that we started to adopt the marketing mix or challenge the marketing mix was we looked at direct-to-consumer brands who provide a lot of value. At the core, they provide value to their consumers in a different way than selling through a retailer. We love our retailers. We will always love our retailers. So we started to ask ourselves, how can we evolve the value that we bring to our consumers if it's not through pricing or through promotion? So the marketing mix began to evolve in that we moved away from this idea of marketing is just about the upper funnel, or for a CPG brand, it's so much about that brand tracker and what that awareness and what that consideration is. And we pay attention to that. But we started to evolve the thinking to say, what is the right mix between building equity, building the brand, and driving performance? So we adopted direct response, we adopted performance marketing into the business, and what we started to build was truly full funnel approaches to our campaigns. And being in this model that we have of One Chobani, where my team is able to work from the highest level of the biggest TV investment we're gonna make that's all around getting someone, mass audiences that we don't know who you are, but we hope you are interested in Chobani, all the way down to the person that might have visited our site, clicked a button to get a coupon, didn't finish getting that coupon, left the site, went somewhere else, and we found you and brought you back. So a lot of those performance metrics and that performance idea of direct response came into the marketing mix, and we started to balance the total investment across upper funnel and lower funnel into one holistic approach.
Well, pull back from that, though, and tell me a little bit about the customer journey as you're conceiving it, how this maps against whatever concept of a customer journey is when it comes to yogurt.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting point that I assumed. I worked on CPG a long time ago at agencies, and I always thought it was to the shelf. Everything, is my mic working? Yeah.
Yes.
Everything is to the shelf. And when I came to Chobani and we started to work in this one-demand model, and I started to get close to food service, and I started to get close to away from home, and I started to get close to these other channels, you realize for Chobani, a commodity, there are infinite customer journeys. They are happening on your way to 7-Eleven in the morning as you're grabbing a yogurt on your way to work. It's happening at the convenience store, at CVS or at Duane Reade or at Walgreens. It's happening in new formats like Amazon Go in Chicago and Seattle. It's happening on Amazon. It's happening on Fresh Direct. It's happening on Peapod. It's happening on the airlines. So if you fly business and you get Chobani on American or United, the infinite consumer journey. So it made us ask ourselves, we look at the marketing mix and how we approach marketing, how do we find an adaptive or flexible solution that allows us to reach all those consumers at the right time, in the right moment, blah, 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 if you're playing buzzword bingo. It allowed us to really think through that approach because we broke the idea of there's one consumer journey that is, your pre-shop, your shop, your post-shop. And we started to say, well, if you're in an airport and you're about to board a flight, and we build a partnership with an airline, and we know that you're going to be on that flight, and it's going to have Chobani. Like, is there a way to communicate to you through that? Or if we know through Spotify that you're listening to music as you're going in and out through a convenience store, is that an opportunity for us to reach you? So that mix, that idea of the marketing journey, the customer journey, started to evolve and challenge us to become more flexible and more adaptable.
Was there specific research behind this, or was it simply the sort of that generalized, we're all going digital sense that this is where everybody's getting exposed to brands? Or is there real research that was showing that this is how people are really discovering or being driven towards purchase?
Yeah, we, in the process of building a DMP in-house, so we built a DMP in-house at Chobani about a year ago now, exactly. And a couple of the points that we found as we were researching that helped evolve this thinking. So when someone's in a store, they spend about 0.3 hours, which is, I don't know, 30 minutes? No, 20 minutes? Yeah. Math's not my strong suit. It's hard. 0.3 hours, I remember the slide. 0.3 hours in a store per week. That's all you spend in a store. You spend 10 hours a day online. Why would we not be trying to influence you more online as you're spending those 10 hours and there's the infinite touch points that you have, than in the 0.3 hours that you're in the store with a kid yelling at you, you want to get in and out, it's your third time there that day or that week or that weekend, or you've got soccer practice or a soccer game afterwards. So it allowed us to start to challenge that thinking. There's also, we have lots of internal data and we run lots of studies that allow us to see the effectiveness of TV and digital, which allowed us to, again, change that marketing mix. Because for our business, we don't rely in marketing, it's about ROI, which is important, how effective my dollar is, but it's also about effectiveness. So am I moving the volume? Am I tying the result back to the business? And that's a unique challenge for a marketing organization that sits literally right next to sales, because we're accountable for both. So it's fun to think like that, because you have to make the two work together.
Is there a specific problem or challenge you're trying to solve?
Yeah.
Well,
Sell more yogurt.
But I mean by that, was this, no. Beyond the general marketing challenge, but was there a specific challenge in your market that you are trying to solve for here that's motivating this?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the consumer or the end user. The SKU proliferation in yogurt is huge. There's 12 strawberries on a shelf. There's 14 blueberries on a shelf. And there's lots of innovation every 6 months in yogurt. And what we realized was this approach was really spurred of the problem we were trying to solve was, as the category changes so quickly, as it changes so rapidly, as the commodity, as we realize elasticity and we look at the economics of it, marketing was one way that we could start to drive the business in a meaningful way. And so that was the opportunity that we had in front of us. And so that's why about 2 years ago when I joined and we built the team, that's what we set out to do.
Okay, so let's drill into this, about what this actually meant internally, because a lot of this is how you reorganized around it. So what is, and the idea is that you started trying to mimic some of the models you were already seeing among the up-and-coming D2C brands and try to mimic that internally. So let's start drilling into that. What did that mean in terms of organization and the team building?
Yep. So I can talk to the marketing side. So I have a team of about 11 now. Oop, there's my phone. Team of 11 now, and we reorged with sales. So our sales team reorged into a streamlined structure, and we followed. One of the big things that the change in structure allowed us to do was Chobani started to own more direct relationships. So I think this is a question at the end, but I'll say it now. If you are a service provider in the room, a vendor, get that contract with the client direct. Don't go through the agency. We found so much value when we started to look at key partners that we were working with and how do we want to extract the most value out of them in a structure. And by building a team, a marketing team in-house and walking away from some valuable agency relationships we still tap into, it allowed us to really not only own that contract, but own all the insights, own all that information, and nothing got lost in the shuffle. Because so much gets lost in the telephone tag that you play. So many interpretations go into the deck, and the headline should say this, and the slides should read like this. And when we work with vendors, if anyone's worked with us in the room, we're very direct, and we have key questions we want to know, and that information comes out, and we keep it moving. And so one of the big shifts in the organization on the marketing side was we, started to build a creative discipline in-house. So there's a good handful, times 10, of leaders in the organization that are producers and creative directors and writers and designers and project managers and analysts, and we all sit in the same group. But we also started to own a lot of the direct relationships with publishers and with our technology stack.
Well, wait a minute. That raises a whole host of questions about how now you own the complexity when you do that.
Yeah.
That the agency used to handle.
Yeah.
So tell me how you created a team without blowing it up out of proportion that could handle the complexity of vendors, the changes in the technologies, the multiple publishers. How is that handled now that you brought it in-house?
You hire a really eager team that wants to do good work.
that can work long hours.
It really isn't. I mean, there's things that are complex about it. But when we have, so for instance, we work with one partner very, very closely, and they become like a third wheel to us. And we love them in our meetings, and we love to have their point of view, and we reach out to them with a bunch of questions. And on the surface, if I were to explain, I can't tell you what it is, but if I explain what it is, it would sound very complex. But it's actually very easy because we do have that direct relationship with them on the marketing side. So I think there's a lot of complexity that gets created in the organization or within relationships between organizations. And going direct was one way that we actually mitigated the complexity of working with a partner, let's say like a Facebook, or like with a Google, or with direct publishers like a Spotify. It allowed us to focus on getting the job done that we had to do, and that actually mitigated or took away a lot of that complexity and allowed us to focus right on the work that we had.
Bring us inside the team or your organization, though. You mentioned streamlining, but what does that actually mean, and how is that mimicking what you're seeing on the D2C side in terms of the way you're actually organizing your team? Yeah,
so on the direct-to-consumer side, one of my old projects was I got to launch the Google Store. So if you guys know the Google Store, it's this now direct-to-consumer way that you can buy an Android phone or all the other services, Google Home, all those. And one of the things that came out of that project that I brought over to Chobani was owning something end-to-end. So the idea of direct-to-consumer is from the inception of the objective or from the inception of the problem or the opportunity that gets identified, all the way through the analysis, into the insights, into the re-engagement, into the changes. It was owned end-to-end. And so it's really exciting for us when some of the creative examples I'll show you towards the end have to do with one of our campaigns. We created over 600 pieces of content for a campaign recently. And those 600 pieces of content were created end-to-end because as we were watching the campaign flight, as we were getting insights back from our media publishers and from our agency and from the teams that we worked with, we were able to literally stand up, walk over there, talk to the copywriter, say, hey, this is what we need to tweak, this is what we need to change. And they would tweak it, change it, producers would take it, get it made, we'd ship it, and it was out. So that's one of the ways that as we've evolved the structure, streamlined, we go end-to-end. And that allows for more effective work. It allows for better creative work because we're all having one conversation, we all sit together. And it makes for just a stronger impact on the category and for our partners like retailers.
Tell us a little bit about how that creative team is organized. You said you built some. Was this a completely new addition? We're hearing something back there.
There's someone on the phone.
There's somebody back there on the phone. You get off the phone back there? Tell us a little bit about how the creative team is being organized and how you built that, and how, again, go into a little more detail about how you're communicating with that creative team. I mean, we've heard this, Josh was talking about this, that's the next last stage for them at Bear, is moving all of this and getting the creative team on board so that you're really creating more streamlined relationships among the data, the media buying, and the creative. Tell us how that's actually working here and how you're convincing creatives that your data matters to them and their messaging.
I don't have to convince my friends,
Okay.
so that's
right.
good. Yeah, we don't have that tension really within the organization. We just have curious people that want to learn and are excited about what insights can give them. So how it works with our creative discipline. So within Chobani, we do all of our own packaging. If you've watched the rebrand rollout of the last year, packaging design, we do all of our own content, we manage our own technology stack, we make our own website. So everyone touches a little bit of everything throughout that massive infinite consumer journey or that customer journey. And so what that allows us to do is it allows for open communication. It allows for everyone to have the same information, which is incredibly important within creative and within strategy, because we're all working from the same place towards the same goal. Which is really important because when we bring a data insight or when my analytics team inputs into one of our creative discussions, that creative director, that copywriter, that designer already understands what wasn't working because they saw it. And because they saw it, they already have been thinking about what they need to fix. And so all that insight or all that data does is it fuels more conversation and more insightful discussion versus tension. So it is really interesting for all of us to, I mean, I worked on the agency side for a long time before I came in-house. And we led with building strategy and creative first. Media came next, but design and creative and strategy were the first things that we built. It's been exciting to watch or to think about all the swirl that we had on the agency side or all the swirl that I would have with my old clients. And to think like, wow, it could have been solved all just by doing this. By being more communicative, by everyone starting with the same information, by everyone having the same information and knowing what the one thing is that we're trying to do. So it's really allowed us to think differently and build faster and build smarter and maintain some of that agility and that entrepreneurship that is true to Chobani and who we are.
So let's talk out of example. You brought some creative examples, and give us some background on this product, because this is around the Flip product. Is that it? Tell us what that was, and was that too also informed by some of the cues that you were seeing from the D2C side in developing this product and deciding how to market it?
Yeah, so this product was developed years ago, and so the campaign definitely was informed by some of what we looked at in direct-to-consumer and how to provide more value through, if it's not pricing and promotion, through unique messaging, through context, through the environment. So this was when we were a little, I'd call it, too excited with what we were doing. We tried to learn as much as we could really fast. And so we lead in our process audience first. So we lead, we don't lead channel first. We don't lead with what creative we want to make. We don't lead with anything but the audiences and the segments. So whether that's through our first-party data, whether that's through a partner that we have a second-party data relationship with, or it's a third-party subscription that we're using, we size and build and personify these segments that we're after that we know have the job for the campaign. So I mean, we have over 200 plus segments now that we're leveraging. So for the Flip campaign,
what is Flip, by the way?
Flip is our sidecar dry ingredients into the. Yeah, if you never had it, and you want some, find me after. I'll send you some. It's really good. Flip is just one of our platforms. So it's the dry ingredients that you flip over into the yogurt and you mix it up, and it's really built off of. Oh, I'm not pressing that.
I just did.
Oh, okay.
Were you having trouble before?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just not there.
Wasn't touching it.
All right. Well, anyway, here's the picture.
So here's a pretty picture. So one of the cool things with the Flip campaign is our platform is built across 3 verticals. So we have indulgent, which tastes like candy bar, right? If you like Almond Joy, if you like Reese's peanut butter cups, there's a Flip for you. There's also variety, which is the whole portfolio, right? So whether you like something that tastes like a breakfast cereal, or you like something that was deconstructed from a candy bar, or you like a deconstructed nostalgia, so like think of a Cinnabon, think of some of the things you used to eat as a kid or that you used to eat as an adult that just evoke that feeling of what you were eating, but in a more delicious and nutritious way. And then we also had functional. So we have a line called AM, which is very functional. So think seeds and nuts and more of that morning routine that you want to get into. And so we took these 3 segments, we built them out, we sized them, we had a lot of fun with them. And then that's when we got really crazy with our creative, because we started to say, well, we don't know what messaging actually works for each of these segments. We don't know what is motivating. We don't know what is going to get them to want to try. So we had a long session over a couple weeks where everyone was just throwing ideas out. We went back to research on the platform. We looked at some of our category management insights. We talked to retailers. We got all their ideas in, and we said, let's just try it. We can do it. We're all here. And so what you're going to see is you see little nuances throughout. So this is when I say 600 probably was too many. Went a little too crazy with it. But we started to play with both design and copy and layout. And this is just a couple of the infinite number of assets. But for indulgent snackers, you see right away it's all about indulgent, right? These are the snackers that we like to say are eating because they love it. They love to try new things. They love to have the snack. They look forward to it. It's one of those exciting things that is part of the day. I fall into this category 100%. I can't wait to eat my 3 p.m. snack every single day. So we played with language. So we played with indulge yourself and happiness tastes delicious. It's more emotive. It was on the emotional end of the spectrum. They're very opposite than a functional snacker. So we made a bunch of digital creative. This is just 2 standard banner examples. And then we made video as well.
Chobani Flip, always a flavor party.
So we played with the VO, we played with the creative, and we just kept tweaking with the creative direction of how do we make this feel more like something for this audience or this user that felt different than the other two that we were playing with. So you guys are seeing the Learn More assets. We also had an incentive running at this time, so we manage our own incentive programs. And so most of this work also is being optimized at first towards coupon completion or redemption.
Was this TV creative?
No, this was just
This
the
was
digital creative only.
Okay.
Digital video only.
Right.
So for variety, we knew that variety snackers always were craving something different. They were the ones that would eat salty snacks, they would eat sweet snacks, they might not eat a snack at all. And so we knew that we had to play into that sense as we were developing this work. So same campaign, all under the same big idea of what we were developing. But the idea of a flavor for every craving or never get bored, try all the surprising flavors. Again, like with the ability to build this in-house, we were able to play with creative and tweak and massage and also optimize. So as we were learning things in our MTA and in our tracker of what was working and what was not throughout the flight of the campaign, it was really easy to take this back, print it out, take it over to the team, put it on a board, have a discussion about it, change a line, get it back out, and we would do that in a day. Instead of the 2-3 weeks it can sometimes take when you're going back and forth with different parties. And so this was the variety spot. So we shot these 3 videos down in Brazil. But these are 3 different online videos, but each one playing to the audience.
Discover a world of delicious surprises.
So you can see that if you're someone that we know that you buy a lot of different types of snacks and you don't have a pattern of what you like, you could go for the salty, you could go for the sweet, or you could go for the nostalgia. All still, again, delicious, nutritious, and better for you, but really presented in a fun and playful way. And then the last segment were functional snackers. So we all know somebody like this. They have the bag of nuts in their bag. They buy the bag of pistachios every single week at the same time from the same store. And so this was all around, again, the idea of pushing more of those functional benefits. So we're packed with protein. Again, a lot of our just the benefits of the category and of yogurt overall. And it allowed us to message to this audience in the right way across a diverse journey, many media channels involved. But again, build creative and build messaging and build a media approach that was distinct and unique within a bigger campaign idea. So you probably saw in the last spot this idea of Flipland. That was our core idea that we went out with. But then the challenge became, well, what does Flipland mean to a functional snacker? What does that world mean to a indulgent snacker? And what does that world mean to a variety snacker? And, oh, the video wasn't working for that one, so I couldn't use it. But you get the idea. It's another very cool video in that animation style.
Did this change any of your concepts of what segments you really were targeting? Did you discover audiences you hadn't discovered before? Did you learn something about your consumers in terms of segmentation and your potential audience that you didn't know before you started this?
Yeah, when we we leverage our MTA, which is a multi-touch attribution, and we have a dashboard that's living and breathing and live and cultured, like we say Chobani is. And we learn a ton with the basket analysis. We learn what else they're buying. We learn where they're buying it, how they're buying it. And we leveraged, Flip was the first campaign where we started to leverage, with one of our partners, AI. So it allowed us to say, okay, based on, in real time, who was, based on the objective, converting on the coupon or on the VCR or whatever the objective was in media that we set for awareness, based on that user in digital who was completing that, spit them into a model, build a lookalike, go find more of them, and do it within 2 days. So yeah, we continue to learn and we continue to leverage some of the cool technology that's out there to help us get smarter and move faster in building these campaigns.
Before I open this up to questions, so think of some questions for Eddie. Let's pull back from this. What are some of the key takeaways from this experience, this 2-year reorganization, and what you've learned about how to do it, how not to do it?
Yeah, I think, so the first one I'll reiterate again is if you're a brand in the room or you're client side, look at your contracts. Who owns them? Where's that information going? How's that information being saved or distributed? It sounds really tactical, but it really does force the conversation of what is important to your organization or what is important to you to know and to have and to control. And a lot of that revolves around insights into the user, insights into their behavior, insights into campaigns. And so that's always something I recommend to my friends who are going client side or who are there working in the same kind of world that I am. I think the second one that's really important is always go really big, but always learn and do what you need to do next. We'll never make that many pieces of creative ever again. Maybe one day down the line. But it's really funny how the conversations always change from we get really excited about building lots of things because we want to try lots of things, which is incredibly important, to then figuring out what works and then building on those. And so it's an iterative process. So knowing what success means to you and what success means to the organization and what you're measuring success on. And more importantly for us, we decided what does our business make decisions on? And how do we make those decisions happen in our favor to keep work like this going? And so understanding that's really important. And then I think from the third side, and this is just speaking for my team, is hire people that don't look like you, do what you do, think like you. As you're building out this kind of structure, as you're thinking about doing some of this work yourself or for a partner that you might be working with. We look at lots of candidates. We always hire the best one for the job. But one of the really exciting things about building this team is you get so many interesting, eager, excited people that want to build something new. And they might not have your typical CPG background. They might not be coming from that big CPG that has the big budgets, that has all this complexity. But that person knows how to roll their sleeves up and is excited to try new things and push something forward. So as you're exploring this, as you're thinking about it, if you're not direct to consumer, like we're not, we love our retailers and we work with them every single day and we'll continue. It's finding people that challenge everybody on the team and challenge us to do our best job.
Eddie, great. Let's get some questions in.
This is easy.
I got one.
Hello, my name is Brian Schifrin. I work at the Media Kitchen.
Hey.
How's it going, Eddie? In terms of the dairy space with low fat and high protein, as well as dairy alternatives playing a role, where do you see Chobani shifting in that space over the course of the next few years?
And as simple of an answer, you'll just have to wait to see. No, I think we're constantly paying attention to the trends and to what's happening in the category. And Chobani's always been an innovator and a leader. Flip was one of the biggest innovations we made, and we got copied, and then those copycats didn't work, and so they left the category. So we're constantly thinking through what those next big ideas are, those big bets are. But without saying exactly what it is, just you'll have to keep buying Chobani to find out.
Hi there. Sloan Seymour with PMX, part of the Stagwell Group. Your process, it sounded like for the campaign, was data collection, then group ideation, and then ultimately execution. Was there a step in which you actually tested that creative against the segments before you went live, and what did that look like? And then I just wanted to ask you, it sounded like you ended up on 3 segments. You have 200. Is 3 the number you go with now relative to in-market campaigns?
It really depends on the objective of the campaign and the platform and what we're trying to do with it, which defines how many segments we have. And we look at the sizing too. If we can group or there's lots of duplication, we build them all together. If they're unique and discrete, we build them apart. So that's where that segmentation idea comes into building the digital segments. From a creative process perspective, it is like that. It truly is as easy as that, but it's way oversimplified. So when we build campaigns in-house, we probably have at any given point 15 to 18 work streams going within a campaign. So there's the media planning and the media strategy. There's the TV creative that's being developed that we bucket into a certain category. There's digital. There's shopper. There's away from home. There's the Amazon campaign. There's there's 1,000 things going on. All of it's being fueled by the same big idea. And so, yes, we do take key pieces of the campaign that, whether they have a big investment behind them or they're things that aren't as flexible as maybe, say, like a digital banner or some copy running on a paid social post. And we do like to know how those are going to work and how we make them better. But we don't test to test. We don't necessarily test to like a certain outcome. We like to leverage our tests as learning for, are there watch-outs, are there red flags, are there things we need to be aware of, and how we keep pushing the work forward. You'll never hear the conversation of like killing creative within Chobani. It's all about keeping it alive and changing it and evolving it and making it move forward, not necessarily throwing it into a test and watching it live or die. So that's a little bit of a shift, a difference for us. But yes, we definitely like to learn and build those, and that's one of those streams that's running on constantly.
What is your relationship to your agencies now?
Um,
What role do they play?
Yeah, so currently in-house, we, again, leverage all of our own capabilities to do packaging, research, insights, product development, and marketing. Our last big standing and very valuable, and we love them very much if anyone's here from Horizon Media, that's our media buying agency. And we are intimately involved with them and continue to be. They push us, we push them. But outside of Horizon and a couple of niche players, really small niche players that, whether they're production vendors or more experiential or talent agencies, all of the work is done end-to-end in-house.
Any plant-based yogurts coming?
No.
Just
No, I
personal
think
question.
we have
Personal prerogative.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of cool things launching next year that are going to be exciting in the next reset.
Eddie, thanks very much.